Hello and welcome to Turning Looks, a makeup podcast by me, Darren. And welcome back to another episode. This month we have the amazing makeup artist Natalia Conde-Flores on. We talk all things Fashion Month. So New York, London, Paris, Milan. We talk about our favorite looks from them and kind of makeup trends that we're seeing. And we also talk about Natalia's experience at Paris Fashion Week. It's a great conversation, a great chat. And without further ado, I'm just going to get straight into it. Yeah, how are you? How are you doing today?
All good, all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How's things? What have you been up to?
Well, I did a shoot yesterday and a shoot the day before. I did a music video on Tuesday, and it was like a 12-hour shoot, and it was really crazy and super long. But I'm really excited to see how that's sort of, well, when it comes out in a couple months, obviously. But yeah, I've just been shooting a lot. I also go to uni, and I
Nice.
do hair and makeup for fashion at London College of Fashion. So, and I also work at Mac. So it's kind of like makeup really every day for me. And I love it. Like, I love it that way. Wouldn't have it any other way, really.
Awesome. It's super busy then. So yeah, how did you get started in like make the makeup world and stuff?
Well, I fell in love with makeup when I was around 10 years old. And it was born out of an insecurity because I used to have really bad eczema, like as a kid and growing up, like my cheeks were really red all the time. And it made me very insecure. Like I remember looking at other girls like that didn't have red cheeks, and I was like, oh, I just want to kind of look like them. And the eczema just wouldn't go away. There was no way for me to cover it, obviously being so young. So then, like we had a big like a house computer, like back then, like the big house computer, and I just figured out that you could go on YouTube and like watch tutorials, and then I figured out like makeup tutorials. And then to me, it was just really fascinating that you could like cover up stuff or like enhance other things that you liked about yourself. And then I started sneaking into my mom's bathroom, like stealing all her concealers, like all her mascaras. And then she'd get really annoyed at me because like she would have to go to work and everything would be in my room. And then when I turned 11, I think, I know it's really young, but she gave me a little makeup bag, which, like, it had like a concealer and like a brow gel, like very natural things. But that's how it all started, just born out of an insecurity. Like that's what piqued my interest. And it really helped me a lot my self-esteem and like going to school. Like I felt more like myself. And then obviously once I figured that part out, I went into the more creative side of it, which is like what I do now. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started, as far as my interest.
What were the YouTubers and you used to watch?
Oh, Zoella all the time. Like I grew up in Mexico. I'm Mexican, and like I just remember watching a lot of UK YouTubers. It was like my dream to move to London one day, and it was like, now I live here, which is insane to me. But yeah, like Zoella, Nikki Tutorials was a really big one as well. Um, Mickey, Glam and Gore. Like that's more for the Halloweeny stuff, but I used to watch her like religiously as well. And then a lot of like Mexican YouTubers. There's one really, really big one called Yuya, and she's massive, massive. Like I think she has like 15 million subscribers or something. Um, but yeah, those Zoella was a really big one. Yeah.
I remember back in the day when I was at uni, me and one of my flatmates used to like go around acting like we was over there in the sense of like using our like student loans on like going around homeware shopping and stuff like we was over there and stuff. She was a big
She was a
thing for
big
a long
influence
while.
at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And we look back at her makeup now, it's the most like a lot of times she's doing a lot of basic things as well, right?
Yeah, I watched some of her old tutorials, just like because I remembered like, oh, what happened to that. And yeah, it's very basic. Like obviously now I'm like, well, that wasn't really something wow, but at the time, like for me, it was just really, really magical. Like that she lived here, and like I think she had this blog in Brighton, like walking her dog. And like to me, like I used to watch that video literally religiously, and I was like, I want that life for myself. Like I want to live there. So yeah, very strong influence, definitely.
And you said earlier that like obviously makeup kind of started more in like I guess the more beauty kind of side of things, and now you like to do the
Yeah.
more like crazy side of things. What do you have a preference now like, in terms of like the makeup
Yeah,
you like to do?
100%. Like, I started freelancing when I was 13, like back home in Mexico. Just my mom's friends were like, "Oh, we like what you do. Like, can you do it for us?" And then my friends started doing the same thing. And then one of my really good friends was like, "You can just charge people for this. Like, they clearly like it. So why not?" So up to that point, it was all like beauty, makeup, like for events, like, and I kind of had a foundation of that. And then when I moved to London for uni 3 years ago, that's when I was exposed to like all this industry of like fashion makeup and runway makeup and editorials. And that is when the switch really happened to me. And I was like, well, I do like people making, I like making people look pretty, but like I can also just change their features into like completely different person. And like I had so much fun with that. I think the concept of like an editorial and like storytelling through not just makeup, but like hair and styling, like set design, that's when like my brain was open to all these other like possibilities. And that's when I really was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave the beauty thing for now.
That's awesome. And you sounds like you're really super busy doing like your freelance stuff, doing Mac as well. Like,
Yeah, it's a lot, but that's what I came here to do, honestly. Like I came here to learn, I came here to be a makeup artist, and I'm really, really thankful that's what I do. I love working at MAC. I used to work for Charlotte Tilbury. I was there for like 9 months, and I just realized like this is not the brand for me. Like it's just not, it doesn't align with me. And then I switched to Mac, and I'm so happy in Mac. Like I love working there, honestly. Every day that I turn up to work, I'm like, this is insane.
and you worked on Fashion Week as well this year as well, right?
Yes, I did. I didn't do London this week, sorry, this year, because I was back home. My mom got married, so I had to go back home, and like obviously that was more important. But I did do one show in Paris, which was insane. I've never done Paris Fashion Week, and it was like I got confirmed on a Sunday, and I had to fly out on a Monday. Like I did not know. I was kind of in contact with like the agent of the makeup artist that I was working with, but nothing was really confirmed. They were like, we can like pencil you in, but we're not 100% sure if she's doing it. And I lied. I was like, oh yeah, I will be in Paris, like 100%, like 100%. And then they on a Sunday they emailed me and they're like, actually, we need you there on a Tuesday. Like, can you make it? And I was like, oh my God. So obviously I said yes. And I like booked everything, like literally had to leave the next day, had no time to like go out and buy anything. And I did it. So I flew literally on a Monday. The show was on Tuesday, and I flew back like Tuesday evening. Like it was really, really like back to back. But it was incredible. I think working under pressure, I'm not too bad with it. I think I can handle myself sort of okay. But it was my first time working with like a big show, like a big brand, like a big makeup artist, like Naima, who's a global ambassador for Fenty Beauty. Even just like meeting her, like I've been following this woman for years, and then getting to work with her is, I was really like, this is just a dream come true, like very starstruck. I met a lot of London girls actually. That was really nice to have someone like from London, and we had like mutuals, and I really enjoyed the networking side of it too. It was absolutely hectic backstage, like it was hectic. The models first came in, we started doing the looks, like I thought my pace was kind of okay, and then everyone says like models need to go for rehearsals, but like they'll be back in a minute. And everyone was like, okay, well, we just kind of have to like wait it out. And then literally like an hour went by and they were still doing rehearsals. And we were just watching like the clock ticking and ticking. And we had to finish this makeup and they were just not coming back. So then the makeup artist said to us, like, just grab your eyeliners. Like, we're going to do this in the lineup. And I just thought, like, oh my God, what do you mean in the lineup? So these are really tall girls wearing like 6-inch heels. There's no light. It's literally super dark, only because like photographers are taking flash photos. And I'm just kind of there trying to do a graphic liner, like holding my light in my hand, just doing the best that I can. But it's really stressful. There's like music blaring. It's a very stressful environment. And then I spoke to my friend who she's a little bit more experienced with fashion weeks, and she was like, "Yeah, that sounds like the average just fashion week experience." So it's very hectic, but I was so happy with the results of that, even though like in the moment I was a bit overwhelmed. Once I saw the photos and like for example, Numero magazine posted some of the photos and like some of the makeup I did was in there. I was like, it was all worth it. Like it doesn't matter the stress, like it was all worth it.
And the looks you were doing were really intense looks as well. Like these bold, like,
It
graphic
was,
lines. Like to do that in
yeah,
like dark with lots of like
yeah.
in a weird angles and stuff sounds like a lot.
Yeah, and they told me like Paris is usually just skin, like pure nice glowy skin, and then obviously this one show has like the really bold eyes. So yeah, it was a bit complicated, but obviously we had everyone on the team, and like I think for some of the girls, honestly, four of us ended up working on the same girl. Like someone would do skin, and then I would finish off the eye, and then like the key makeup artist would have to go and like check it or like change things. So it's also a team effort because obviously if you don't finish someone, like someone will step in and kind of help you out with that. So yeah, it's the beauty of teamwork, honestly, I think.
And was that your first fashion show, did you say as well?
My first Paris one,
All
yes.
right. Have you done
I've
other
never
ones in the
been.
past then?
Yeah, yeah, I've done a bunch in like London, from like student ones to like a little bit more professional ones. But that was my first time like outside in Paris.
How would you describe the like overall kind of makeup of the spring summer fashion shows that we've just seen over the last month?
I think a lot of it was reflected on the trends of the past year, but I saw a lot of eye focus. Like a lot of it was on the eyes, whether that was like Paris or Milan, like the eyes were a big thing. And I'm really happy that I see more of a like more exciting things coming up. I feel like for the past few fashion weeks, like nothing really called out my name, maybe a couple things. But like even just reviewing everything from like this season, I was like, there's actually a lot in here that I really, really like and I want to kind of influence on my own makeup. But yeah, a lot of focus on the eyes, which it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. It was a lot of like soft skin, but then a focus on the eyes, like a bold eye, whether it be like weird colored eyeliner or like graphic lines and stuff like that. It was a lot of focus. Was there like a standout for you that you saw?
Yeah, I loved the Diesel show in Milan because they did like the really big sclera contacts in all these crazy colors, like blue, like a chrome yellow, like I think there was like a white, and then they kind of aligned the eye with the same color. So from afar, it just gives this really like uncanny, like alieny effect. But I also saw a lot of people using scleras, like the really big contact or colored contact. Like I saw that being a really big trend. We were gonna use scleras in the Paris, like the show I did in Paris, but scleras are really because obviously it's your entire eye and covered in a piece of plastic. A lot of models cannot handle that, and it's really painful. And then they're like, they're gonna start crying, like the makeup's all gonna run down. So it's obviously not the easiest, but they do look really, really sick. Like the diesel one really stood out to me for sure.
And I guess it's having to put them in like right at the start, I guess. Like when you're once they've
Yeah.
already gone for their test and you're halfway through doing makeup, trying to put those massive contacts in, it's like it's not ruining the
Yeah, I
makeup.
think they did the test like before the show, obviously, and literally they were like, the designer was like, no, like it's just not gonna work. Like it's too risky, and obviously we don't have a lot of time. Like,
Yeah, definitely. What do you think like some of like the biggest colors that came out of it as well? Because it feels like this year there was like specific colors that were really popping out. Did you see any like surprising shades or combinations that kind of stood out for you?
I think the very like bright, like magenta, like chrome yellow, like blue, they're not like I mean, we did see a couple of metallics, like darker kind of jewel tones, but they're all really neony and really bright. Like I saw a lot of, yeah, like yellow mascara, I think. Can't remember which brand. Dries Van Noten. I don't know how to pronounce it, but they
Yeah.
did like a yellow mascara, and then Diesel had the yellow on the yellow contacts as well. So I think yellow was popping out a little bit. It was obviously quite neutral and like they're not very like big pops of color. They're very subtle. Even Loewe, when they did the gold, really big graphic shape, that's still yellow, like in a goldeny tone to me. And then obviously we saw all of the 90s like cool tones that have not gone away. They're probably not going away for like a very long time. At MAC, we have like monthly trends that obviously kind of reflect what's going on. And this month's trend is like 90s soft grunge. So it's definitely still here. Like the Gabriette makeup is here to stay. But I do see the incorporation of like more bright colors. And yeah, the yellow was probably my favorite. I don't think we see it enough in makeup.
No, yeah, yellow's not a color you often see that used that often. I feel like I guess people are really scared to look ill with using yellow.
Yeah,
And because
it's like red. If you go like
yeah.
red eye, it looks like you have like red eye. But yeah, it's just finding ways to sort of like the yellow mascara to me, it looked really pretty. I think the model had like a really dark skin tone as well. And on her skin tone, it looked amazing. Maybe on someone a bit more fair, it wouldn't look like as contrasted. So yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I guess it's ways to making it work, right?
Yeah, you gotta figure out how to make it work exactly.
What were the kind of makeup? Because you said a minute ago that you there are some things you want to incorporate into your own kind of work. What were the kind of things that stood out that you wanted to
Yes.
incorporate?
I love using 3D elements on for the things I do. Like obviously we've seen a really big trend of like the fake piercings, like pearls, any like 3D little gems, like Euphoria. We still have that from Euphoria, it's not going anywhere. But the oh my god, I butcher names really bad. Chapova, I think Lovena, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they did the gem eye, and I've always wanted to do that, but I haven't found like the proper tools to do it. Like I've been to craft shops to find like these really pretty, like regal kind of looking gems. And I've never been able to find anything like that. So I'm really intrigued to like where they found these sort of gems, because I feel like once I have them, I can just play around with the placement or like make like a really pretty design on like the eyebrows or even like the lips or something. But yeah, I think it's finding these really unique sort of like beads or little bits and pieces that obviously aren't meant for makeup, but it's fine if you like stick them on with a bit of lash glue. But yeah, I'd love to know where they got those gems because they were really pretty. They're really good size for like the eye or the lips as well.
Yeah, and the way they use them, because they kind of use them as like liners on both the top and bottom. And
Yeah,
they were like, they weren't just like the standard like gem shape. They were
like
all
a
like
little gem
different.
here and there.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
all like the weird different shapes as well. They looked really cool. And they also kind of use like hundreds and thousands like stars as well at one point. They that one really stood out to me as well, their makeup. Like
yeah.
it was,
And I'm really curious of to how they did it because I think that was some of those pre-made, I would like to think, just kind of pre-made on a little like sticker sheet or something. Because obviously I don't think they were gluing like, gem by gem. Like considering runway and like the timing it goes with it, I would have found that really, really hard. So I also wonder like how they did such a quick application. And for, because it actually looked really, really pretty on the runway. So it's like faking it till you make it. I'm really curious of like what method they used for that.
yeah. And also super effective, right? As well. Like it really did stand out.
Yeah.
And those things stand out in the lights too.
Like you said, like it's really glowy skin, like as a general trend. Like the skin was nice, like nothing too exciting. But like I feel like all of the eye things are very simple, but they're high impact. So like the color contacts, the gems, like the metallics, it's just one or two little key products, but they go with a bang, like on the face and the obviously as the camera kind of catches the light, they're a really high impact. So it's very versatile and it's a good way to use the time, I guess, for doing makeup for a runway.
How do you find like doing like makeup in a runway? You obviously have a key artist that kind of tells you the makeup to do. Do you have
Yeah.
any creative freedom within that, or is it just literally doing like copying, like putting looks onto people, like the same looks onto people, or are there any ways you can do your own flares onto things?
I think if it's a really big show or more of a professional, like, bigger brands show, definitely it's more of a copy and paste situation. Like the one I did, it was more of a copy and paste situation, definitely. You obviously have to take into consideration people's features. Some eyeliners, some things are just not going to look the same on people. And that's just, because we'll have different face shapes and different bone structures. So you kind of have to figure out how to make it look as symmetrical and as similar between models as possible. They all have to kind of look sort of the same. So I don't think there's a lot of creative freedom in those type of really big shows. However, I've done smaller shows, like little runways for like students or just smaller brands here in London. And a lot of the times you get to sort of direct the makeup. And it's really nice to have those conversations with designers or whoever's directing the show and to kind of figure out a makeup look. Like that's one of my favorite things, more of a beauty consultancy angle. And to talk to them and to really like for them to understand what my vision is. And I think in those cases, you get a lot more creative freedom. But yeah, you can't just be like, well, I want to do this and like just change everything.
In those kind of places, in those like smaller shows and stuff, like where
Yeah.
do you get your ideas from? Is it literally just from the fashion, or do you come with your own ideas first and kind of see how those maybe would marry together? And like you said, the beauty consultancy side of things, like what kind of conversations are you having with the designers to kind of create the looks?
No, I think if someone approaches me like we want you to do this show is because they like my makeup style like right off the bat and they think it suits their brand or like whatever. I think my makeup style is, when I was in Paris, someone looked at my Instagram, they were like, oh, you do very London makeup. And I was like, what does that mean? And then the more I thought about it, like London makeup has a look to it. It's very like, I think Maya has had a huge influence on that. But I see a lot of metallics, a lot of like bleached brows, a lot of like dark lip liners. Like you don't really see very natural things for, these sort of like London brands that are really popular, like to name a few, like Jaded, like Name Collective, all these sort of like very, very Londony brands. The makeup's always really metallic, like fake piercings are really, really on like popular. So I think my style definitely, as the years have gone by that I've lived here, has turned into more of that and it reflects that. So if someone approaches me and they're like, we like your makeup, we want you to do something, I usually have a little list of things that I want to try out or things that I've liked and I kind of want to like let's say remake it in a different color or like test this out. Like we do a lot of testing before we actually like if I'm trying out something for a shoot, I'll definitely test it at home and make sure it works and not just kind of show up and like pray for the best. So I will usually draw face charts. I think face charts are a massive like point of reference and I still do them. I love doing them on my little iPad digitally. I find that's a lot easier than like putting makeup on paper. Usually face charts help the designer also understand where my vision's coming from because if I explain things to them, they might not. They need a visual. Like we're all very visual people, and we need to see what that would look like on a face. So face charts give you that option as well. Digitally, it's really easy to just kind of, if they're not happy with something, they want to change it. It's really easy to just kind of edit them on my iPad, and I don't have to like redo it all over again. I'll do a couple face charts and then talk to them about what they like. I always tell people, tell me what you don't like as well. I feel like that's a very forgotten thing sometimes. And then we would usually just kind of like narrow down the looks, whether it be one look for all the models, or like if they want a model with something special, like special lip color or something like that, we will kind of figure it out. But yeah, to answer your question, I think face charts are, I use a lot of them and I make a lot of them. And a lot of my inspiration that I just have kind of saved in the little drawer.
Was there a fashion like London, New York, Paris, Milan, and around the world? Was there a fashion a favorite one you had out of them? Like, was like London, the makeup from London the favorite, or New York or Paris, or was there anywhere, any area in the world that particularly stood out in terms of their makeup?
Oh, well, I did my little research. I have like my
Oh,
favorites written down. Um, I think again, not to like mention it again, but I think the diesel one really stood out to me. I don't know why, like just how you can get this really like uncanny effect of the models with like their entire eyes being like a neon pink and then following that onto the skin. To me, that was really, really genius. And then also Issa Maya, I don't know what show she did, but I saw the little interview they did backstage with her. She did this kind of like, she always, I mean, she's just a makeup genius, like we all know that, but she did this sort of like mask situation where she shaded the face to look like there was like a robotic sort of mask on it. And I thought that was genius because again, it's just like a little bit of shading, doesn't take too long, and it looks like, like a 3D mask on the face. And she also did, I think there were three looks she did for that show, the second show. She just shaded like this part of the model's noses, and she used like her own she just launched this like collection with Lashify that's like a really pretty sort of winged lash style that has never been done in my opinion. I think that's really, really innovative, like a lash that just looks like winged eyeliner and not like an actual like eyelash. But she shaded this part of the like the nose, the bridge of the nose, that I guess is forgotten a lot of the times in makeup. And it made the models look a bit like, like how a tiger or like a panther have this kind of like bridge of the nose really, really like broad. It made them look a bit like that, like a little bit uncanny. So I think for us makeup artists, we see it differently. But for the average person watching the show, it draws their interest. It's like there's something in it that like maybe they quite like not really they can't really like pinpoint what it is, but they just know the face looks like intrigued. And I think that's what a good makeup artist does at the end of the day, like to just pique interest in people, and like even if you know makeup or if you don't, like it just looks interesting to you.
I think that's where Izamaya really shines is when she does her runways and stuff. But yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and also it's those small details I think a lot of time that yeah will shift that perception. And like you said, the average person looking at it, or if they're just walking past quickly, you're going to see something that is sits on uncanny to you in your visuals, but you're not actually going to really recognize what it is. You're not going to realize that oh, it's the makeup that they've done there. That you're just going to be like oh, their face looks a bit off. I
Yeah,
think
there's
that's really
something weird
interesting.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a really interesting thing I think about makeup, isn't it, and stuff.
Yeah, it's like for us, it's like we see it in this like sort of language, and we speak about it in this way that like obviously you and I really, really understand. But for the average person, is like, wow, like this is entirely. And I think nowadays it's really overwhelming to learn makeup and to get into it. Like when I started doing makeup, the tutorials were like, they give a bit of information, but it was all very basic. Like nothing was too out there. And like now with TikTok and everything, like there's so many tutorials and so many, like it's an overload of information that like the average person doesn't need. But at the same time, I think that's reflected when they see runways or anything like that, like editorials, and they have no idea how they did it, but like to them it just looks really, really cool. And again, that is what hair and makeup kind of allows us to do, is to change an entire person's like face or bone structure or like, colors. Anything can be changed through makeup. And I think to the average person and to us is like just absolutely amazing, and why we still do it.
There is that overload online of and it's also being told this is what you should do, this is what you should do, and for a lot of people that's like
Yeah.
it ends up being overwhelming. You end up feeling like you have to buy a load of products and do things a certain way when actually it can be very, very simple. And then yeah, when you
Yeah.
see like the editorial stuff, you're like, wow, this is so cool, without realizing actually the artistry behind that as well. That there's a lot of skill and time that goes behind creating all these amazing looks that you see in the runways or in magazines and stuff.
Yeah, 100% I agree with that. It's like it's just an overload. But maybe eventually it'll go down and people will understand again that like it can just be really simple. I've always said like if it works for you, it doesn't matter what it is. Like as long as you're safe, obviously you're not using like something you're not meant to use on your face. But if you use like eyeliner for like blush and to you line your lips with it too, like there's nothing wrong with it. Like it's absolutely fine. And I think makeup artists can be a bit intimidating sometimes. Like I remember when I was little and I went into like makeup shops, it was a little intimidating. Like even though I knew what I was doing because I knew I used to watch a lot of tutorials, but just speaking to someone about it like upfront, knowing they're an expert, it can be a little bit intimidating. But I think this beauty space is now shifting into like a more approachable, look, is not as like untouchable as it seemed one.
Last couple of questions. So you said
Yeah.
earlier about that someone said your makeup style was very London. Did you take that
Yeah.
as a compliment? Do you like that?
100%. Yeah, because they were like, this was an Italian makeup artist that I met in Paris, and she was like, "Your makeup looks so London," and she was like, "I want to learn, like, how do you do it?" Like, she was asking me a lot of questions of like what products I use and like what are my favorite brands that are sold in London, and like how did I like. She would zoom into look, but how did you do this? How do you do that? So 100%, I think it's a compliment. I think Paris and Milan have a more natural sort of makeup. Not to generalize, because obviously I met some girls in Paris that like have amazing makeup looks, but I think London's always been a bit more edgy. If you take it back to Vivienne Westwood and McQueen, like it's always a little bit more edgy, whereas I feel like Paris and Milan are more classy. And not there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different sort of style. So 100%, I think it's a compliment. And it's my favorite makeup style. I love what I do and I love the city that I live in for the influences that I have that obviously like reflect in my work. Yeah, I think it was a massive compliment.
I guess London has that kind of like it's both 90s kind of grungy, but there's like editorialness to it. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of the
I think
vibe.
if I saw an editorial shot in London and one shot in Milan and one shot in Paris, I would be able to tell like what was shot where because I feel like London just has that edge to it and it hasn't gone away. Like it's definitely still here.
And last question. What was the first makeup item that I think you mentioned a bit earlier, but what was the first makeup item that you bought yourself?
When I was like around that time, like figuring out like what I liked in makeup and like I was allowed to wear it, but also thanks to my parents because they always let me wear it. Like I would go to school with like MAC Rebel, like a really deep purple lipstick, and they literally wouldn't care. They were like, if it makes you happy, like go do it. So I'm really thankful that they always gave me that sort of like freedom with it because not all parents were like that with my friends, and I remember that. But they took me into Sephora and they were like, okay, like this is your birthday gift, like we have this much money, like low budget for you, and like you can figure it out. So I got the Too Faced chocolate bar palette. I think that's what it's called. I still have it. I have a little makeup memory box. But that eyeshadow palette, again, back in like 2015, 16, every beauty guru was using it. It was like the hottest thing to have because it smelled like chocolate as well. So I used that palette like every day for a year straight. Like I experimented so much with it and I love that palette. It's still near and dear to my heart.
What else is in your makeup memory box?
I have a Hoola bronzer that's really old. But yeah, it's just a little Hoola bronzer. Like the back then, Benefit just had one Hoola bronzer. Like now they've expanded and have a ton more, but it was that. And I have a Kylie lip kit in a like dark purple color with the card from like when the package would come and you would get like a little card with like handwriting on it. So that's still there. And I think it's a Jeffree Star liquid lipstick in the shade Calabasas, I think. Don't quote me on that. And again, I kept the little like card thing, but it's all in there, and I don't think I'll ever throw it away.
I think that's really telling of like
The
your like
era,
era of makeup. Yeah. That Hula,
100%.
Kylie, and Jeffree Star. It's just so like, yeah, that's
Like my everything, definitely like all my friends, because obviously again I was allowed to buy makeup. They were like not really like they would go and like just swatch the eyeshadows and I would do their makeup and then like had a couple parents kind of get angry at me like why are you doing this to my child, but I think they liked it and I think that's such a beautiful thing, that genuine like intrigue, like what is this and like how do I use it, and like young girls that are starting to wear makeup, like is that feeling of like discovering a whole new world. So I do have really nice memories with that palette and like sleepovers with my friends doing their makeup.
and I think like it also is so empowering as well because I know at the start you said obviously your kind of love for makeup came from like insecurities, but like it's that kind of empowering you have control over it then because like you're changing something to make yourself feel better and then becomes like more an empowerment kind of side of thing too, right?
100%. Like I've had this with clients like time and time again. Like I show them a product where like It might be I find the perfect concealer and they've had this really bad under eyes for like years and nothing covers them, or like skincare or like a lipstick shade that actually looks good on them. A lot of them are like, oh, I'm afraid to wear lipstick because like everything looks too intense on me. And then we just kind of find a product that works for them. And I think that's ultimately what your makeup should do. It should be simple and it should work for you. So I think it's that sort of taking that back. It also makes, like, to me, it makes me feel very feminine. Like I'm a very feminine girl, but even for like just anyone, I just feel like it can make you feel however you want to, whether it's covering anything up or like enhancing something about yourself or creating an entire like I do fake eyebrow piercing sometimes when I feel a bit more like a baddie, and I love the way I feel like that. But then I'll do like a pinky pastel makeup look. And again, I think it's just like giving you that power and that authority about yourself and the way you present yourself to the world and having control over that. Like as a young person, I think it's the best thing ever.
I'm gonna like wrap it up there, but thank you so
Yeah, yeah.
much for coming on. And that's it for this month. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Make sure to follow Natalia on Instagram. Her handle will be below in the description. So yeah, please go follow her and check out all the amazing things she's doing. She's an incredible makeup artist. And thank you for listening. We'll be back next month with another episode. And until then, have a great month. See you later. Bye.